welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program, and I appreciate that you tuned in tonight. Thank you for doing that. I think this is going to be a very interesting program for you. I think you might learn a few things that you might not have known before, and some really important things to know. Before I introduce my guests, though, you know me, if you tune in regularly, I always have something to say up front. And in case you haven't noticed, I wore my Hugs t-shirt that I had made in Maine last year when I was on my trip up there. And it says, "Hugs are healthy, comforting, heartwarming, awesome, and an amazing thing." I love hugs. Now that you know that about me, I just got off my computer before I headed here tonight, and I can't help but share this with you. Part of it comes from a sermon that I heard probably 6 months or more ago, and part of it is coming from me. Wake up, America. How do we heal the world's problems, and how? Who will help the angry to realize that they have opportunities and choices in life? Many individuals are feeling stuck and broken. That's sad. Those who lead them and foster their anger are evil, using these people for their own purposes to destroy our nation, our national symbols, our national culture, and the foundational principles of our country. We as individuals cannot give up. Divisive approaches are being used to wash away the core of our nation, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Individual Rights, freedom and opportunities for those who work hard and are determined to succeed in life. We, you and I, can be a light to open the eyes of those who are feeling forgotten and oppressed and being used by those with ulterior motives to bring down our nation. This great nation offers hope and opportunity to those willing to see it and to work for it. The historic statues of our nation remind us of the sacrifices of those who came before us, and they are a reminder of the struggles and progress of our country to correct former mistakes and to become a nation that many people around the world seek. We can be proud that in the 1860s, Abraham Lincoln and the Republicans in government at that time voted to free the slaves. Unfortunately, 100% of the Democrats in government at that time voted against freeing the slaves. It's interesting that today many black citizens vote for Democrats who promise to give them things that make them dependent on government, thereby taking away their independence as individuals. The more that government does for you, the less control you have over your own life. Please pray for our unique and great nation, our students, our military and law enforcement officers, our families, private businesses, and our children who are the future defenders of all that is good about this country. You and I can be a light of hope for our nation and for those who are stuck in an unhealthy place. We can be a role model for our youth, a patriotic citizen who respects our national flag, our U.S. Constitution, and a citizen who is an exemplary leader for our youth to follow with respect and appreciation. Let's wake up, America. May God bless you and our country. That's it. That's my opening statement for tonight. Okay. It's heartfelt, believe me. Okay, now I want to introduce my guest, a first-timer on the program, and her name is Deb Couture. welcome to the show.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for inviting me.
Great to have you here.
you.
Deb is the executive director of Aspire Together, where there's an office in Burlington, Vermont, and there's also one in St. Albans, right? Mm-hmm. And how long, Deb, have you been working with Aspire Together?
Well, I've actually been there for 10 years, but we opened in 1985.
Wow.
Under the name of Burlington Crisis Pregnancy Services.
No kidding.
Later added the DBA CareNet name, and then just a couple of years ago, we changed the name because CareNet National had recommended that centers change their name to something that was unique to that area. So we went with something that was more inviting for men to come to the center.
Great.
And not just women, but men too,
Well, sure.
to come to the center.
It's a joint effort,
right.
so to speak.
Yep. And so we wanted something that appealed to everyone.
Well, that's a good approach to have. So, what is the mission of Aspire Together? What is the goal, and what are you working toward?
Yeah, we offer compassion and hope to those facing pregnancy, relationship, and parenting journeys by offering services and support free of charge.
Wow, free of charge.
Free of charge.
Not much happens that's free of charge today, and that has nothing to do. The part that it's free has nothing to do with the fact that it's. And how do I want to say this? Has nothing to do with its relevancy or its importance.
Exactly.
It's
very important.
Yes, it's very important indeed. So, what is it that you enjoy the most about being the executive director of Aspire Together?
I love to see the clients grow. And, that's really what we have a program. It's called My Growth Plan. And clients actually pick and choose the classes that they want to do, whether they're pregnant or parenting, or if they want to have a better relationship. Many of our clients don't know what a healthy relationship looks like.
Wow.
So we offer a relationship series, which is incredible. And like I said, they pick and choose from the list of classes that we have. You can see we've got over 140
oh my
classes
gosh.
that relate to a well pregnancy and parenting. And, it's positive parenting. It's preventing child sexual abuse. It's understanding your baby's cry, being able to calm a colicky baby. Lots of different classes.
Wow.
And even labor and delivery, which, you can pay for elsewhere.
Sure. And getting through a pregnancy in a positive and healthy way.
Exactly.
Which is really important for the mom to be and for the baby.
Exactly.
And for the relationship that this woman might have with the father of the baby.
Exactly.
To develop a healthy relationship is really important for everybody.
It is.
And
because babies need moms and dads.
Yes, they do. Absolutely, I agree. Role models and, to have two people who care for you and love you and burp you and teach you. Yeah. It's an exciting time, but it needs preparation.
Exactly.
And I think that unless you are fortunate enough to grow up in a very healthy family where the parenting roles are, they're understood and they work together and they have goals, on how to raise the child and set an example, and unfortunately, Deb, there are too many children today who don't have that kind of an environment.
Exactly. Many of our clients come from single-parent homes or very dysfunctional families, so they really have no idea what a healthy relationship looks like.
So you're there.
We're there.
To help them define and become a half of a healthy relationship.
Exactly.
How many of the fathers, potential fathers of these women's children, or children to be born, how many of them get involved?
Well, there are some that get involved, and there are some men that come to us on their own that want to take parenting classes and become, a good dad and to learn those skills ahead of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming that these programs are only open to either a prospective mother or a prospective father, not someone who's had a child and...
Oh, no, we work with people that have children.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so if somebody has a 2-year-old and is having problems with them, their 2-year-old not progressing out of the temper tantrum stage, we work with them as well.
Wow, yeah. What a resource.
And in addition to that, we're also seeing some kinship relationships, like grandparents with children. So they're coming in and using our services.
Grandparents who are taking over the parenting role?
Right, right.
Yeah, well, there's enough of that going on too.
Yeah.
But, it's so critically important. It's part of being not only a healthy parent, but also be an example and a healthy part of society.
Exactly.
Right?
It is, yep. And what I wanted to share too is with each class that they take, they earn points for items that they might need. So for someone who's pregnant and, they say, I don't have money, I don't have, I can't afford to have a baby, well, they can earn a crib, a stroller, a filled layette, which is also called a baby shower in a box. It's a box filled with items that they need. They're all brand new. Diapers, wipes, crib sheets, outfits, toys, books.
Where do they come from?
Those are all donated, and it's all brand new.
Wow.
They can also shop in the boutique where we have, baby clothes and maternity clothes and, diapers, wipes, pretty much everything they need.
Are these in your building?
They are, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So I would assume that, I'm thinking if I were ever in that position, which I never was, so it's hard to know. When I was in school, for instance, in those days, there was no sex, at least for many of us, most of us.
Or if there was, it wasn't talked about.
Well, probably, but it was like not part of even my thinking.
Right, wasn't on your radar.
No, not in those days. So wait a minute, you just said something that I wanted to get back to. What was the last thing you, I can't remember. I lost my...
About earning items?
Oh, yeah, that's good. So this would give them a ray of hope that they'd be able to provide for the baby and have the things they needed.
Exactly.
And do you talk about nursing your baby? If
Absolutely.
That's something that they... Because that's
One of the classes is breastfeeding. We also do another feeding class, but the breastfeeding, I think, is actually 3 classes. And one of our clients who gave birth, she was up on the hospital, with her new baby and, breastfeeding her baby. And the nurses were talking, saying, oh my goodness, I wonder how many children she has at home because she's doing such a great job. Well, she said, oh no, this is my first. And they're like, well, how do you know, how to breastfeed like that? And she said, well, I took classes over at Aspire Together. And, so that was really neat.
Wow. Now, how do you get the word out?
That's a great question. Most of our clients actually walk by the sign or they hear word of mouth from other people, but we are online. So we're hooked up with all of the online search engines.
Okay, so folks, if you have a need or you have an interest in what we're talking about, you can go online to Aspire Together.
.org.
.org.
Yep.
Okay.
It's aspire-together.org.
Aspire dash, not underscore, but
right,
dash.
Yep.
Together. Okay. .org. Okay. Well, I can't stop thinking about what an important resource this organization is. I cannot imagine being a young girl or a young woman and finding myself in a family way, and not having a great support system, having no knowledge of what's to come, except that there's a baby brewing in there,
Right.
in the hopper, and where do you go? How? I mean, other than someone telling you about it, do you get out in the community anywhere?
We do. We go and speak at schools sometimes and some local churches, and whenever we get the opportunity to.
Well, that's really important. If you can get into the schools. And now, is that in an assembly situation? Is that in a classroom where there students who have a particular interest in this topic would want to come in and talk or get information?
We've done both. We've done classroom. We have actually been in a couple of schools where we play games with the kids, asking them questions about sexually transmitted diseases and infections. And, it's kind of the spin the wheel game, and then they get candy, whether they get the answer right or wrong. And
now, what
it's
age level
interesting.
would that be?
That would be high school.
Okay.
But it's interesting how many young people don't understand how risky sexual behavior is, that, the STDs are at epidemic proportions.
Oh, I'm sure.
And there's a lot more today than there was when we were growing up. Oh, yes. I know there's like over 100 strands of HPV, and that's just one of the many sexually transmitted infections.
Wow. So it's important for them to be educated.
Exactly.
About the risks that you put yourself in, and to know ahead of time that I'm taking this risk, and is it worth it?
Right, because there is no cure for the viral sexually transmitted infections. For the bacterial, if they're caught in time, there is medicine that can take care of it, but often they're asymptomatic. So they don't know that they have a sexually transmitted infection until it's too late and it does damage.
Human papillomavirus?
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. And what's the other prevalent? There's another.
HIV, herpes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's gonorrhea, syphilis.
Oh, yeah.
Chlamydia.
That's right, all of those.
Yeah.
And men can get a number of those
Absolutely.
as well.
Yep.
Or they can transmit them to the girl.
And what young people don't understand is that using a condom often does not protect them from those sexually transmitted infections. And a condom isn't 100% for, preventing pregnancy either.
Well, it can break.
Yeah, well, each year we have, usually a couple that comes in using, birth control pills and a condom, and they're still pregnant. And they come in and say, how is that possible? Well, nothing is 100% except for postponing sex.
Did you forget to take the pill?
That happens.
Yeah, that could happen too.
Or they could be on an antibiotic that, makes the pill not effective.
Not work, yeah. Wow. Well, this is really an eye-opener. I wish you could get into, let me ask you this, first of all. How do the youth respond when you go into, let's say, a high school, and you have a fairly large group of girls and boys? They're mixed, right?
Yes.
Good. How do they react? They kind of feel, act like they're a little self-conscious until they get
sometimes
comfortable.
Sometimes.
Yeah, because it's not something that people talk about openly
Right.
on a regular basis.
Right.
It's a topic that's sensitive, but so important.
It is.
It's a matter of self-protection and protecting your partner, so to speak, as well.
And the other thing that people don't understand is that when you have sex with someone, you're sleeping with everyone that they have been with for 10 years. That's a long time.
That's a lot of potential.
That's really scary. It is.
Oh my
It is.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. That's true. I've heard that. And so there's a lot for young people to know.
There is. Yep.
And it's great that you're doing that. I don't know of anybody else who is really doing that to this extent.
So our mission is actually threefold. It's prevention, intervention, and then recovery. So intervention obviously is when they come in and they find out that they're pregnant, or sometimes they already know that they're pregnant when they come into the center. And then we offer an ultrasound free of charge where they can make sure that the baby is viable, it's in the uterus and has a beating heart. And we always make sure
After 6 weeks?
After 6 weeks, yeah. And we always make sure that they're connected with an OB doctor to because we do not do ongoing prenatal care. So we just provide the verification that yes, it's a positive pregnancy, it's where it belongs, and
they
it
can
has a beating
actually
heart.
see
Yep.
the baby.
Yep, and they get pictures to take home.
And that makes it real, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
And when you stop to think that by 6 weeks, that's a month and a half,
Yeah,
the baby's heart is beating. I mean,
pretty amazing.
it makes it real, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
And it makes one think that, you know, this is serious and we have some thinking to do, we have some work to do, we need to talk about, what a challenge for you to sit down. I mean, I know you've done it over and over, and it's kind of old hat for you, but every situation is a little different
It is.
depending upon the individuals involved and what their backgrounds are and what their expectations are.
Well, one of the things that we like to do is we like to slow down the process. We like people to take time to think through their options. One of the things that we do with our clients who are unsure about what they're going to do with a positive test is we have a pregnancy decision aid that goes through the pros and cons of each of the options. And it actually takes about an hour and a half to go completely through it. And then we usually make a copy for them, ask them to take it home and come back in a week so that if they have questions, we're there and we can help them sort through those questions.
Wow, that's the services are just unbelievable. From you, it seems like you're covering everything from A to Z, and to help them work through that process.
Absolutely.
Just thinking about it, and you know, how would we handle this? And because there's a lot to handle.
There is.
And young people often are not prepared to be parents.
Exactly.
You know, they're still growing up themselves, basically. And it's not that they can't do it, but it takes you have to want to.
Right.
Now, when it comes to those who, I mean, there's several different types of decisions they can make. And if a young couple who don't feel prepared to have a child in their lives and yet don't want an abortion, then do you work with any kind of agency or resource for people who want to adopt children?
We do have agencies that we refer to that they can make an adoption plan through. We can't directly support one adoption agency because we can't really align ourselves with just one.
Okay, but how
so
many?
we give them a list of 3. You know, we refer to 3 physicians, 3 counselors, just to give them some options.
Right, because you don't always fit with one counselor.
Right.
You know, it's one person and another trying to match how they relate with
Right.
one another. It's a relationship,
It is.
and it's good that there are options there. But how many? Do you know how many adoption agencies there are in Vermont?
I want to say there's probably about 5.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Yep.
Spread around the state?
Yeah. Adoption is not a popular option these days.
For whom?
For the people who find themselves pregnant.
Because?
Well, what I've heard them say is that, I'm going to have my baby or nobody's going to have my baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a, they're thinking selfishly, they're thinking about,
themselves.
They're not thinking about the baby. And some of them feel that making an adoption plan would say to the baby, I don't care about you, but that's totally wrong.
Not true.
Because,
yeah.
Making an adoption plan can be the most loving thing that they do for their baby, knowing that somebody who is a little bit more mature, could raise the baby and give them the type of life that they want.
Who has been maybe wanting a child for a long time
and maybe can't have a baby.
Not able, to bear a child. But I can see where the hesitancy to put your child, your baby, into someone else's life. That would be hard.
It would be hard, but it is. You can do it.
But you need to look at all the factors.
Exactly.
How are you prepared to grow up yourself?
Right.
While you're trying to raise a child, your needs versus the baby's needs. That's a toughie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying some people can't do it.
Right.
Especially if they have a loving and supportive family. But everybody doesn't have that either.
Right.
So let's see, what else do you, so when let me go back to prevention. Is that primarily when you go into the schools, or?
It is. We're talking about postponing sex, and we're talking about, what their hopes and dreams are, because having an unplanned pregnancy can certainly interrupt those
Absolutely,
dreams.
Absolutely. And also, if you think ahead, what kind of a life are you going to give to a little baby when you're not fully matured yourself? Not that we're ever fully matured, any of us, but it's a process.
It is.
But there are a certain being a mom myself and a grandmother and now a great grandmother. There's a lot to parenting.
There is.
And if you're still a child yourself, in so many words, the idea of adoption and making a family happy, and there are adoptions, I'm pretty sure, where you can have an agreement where you get to see the child.
Absolutely, yeah. An open adoption.
Yes, that's what it's called. Yeah. So anything else on the prevention? You talk with them about postponing sex?
And we talk about sexually transmitted infections. Like I said, they often don't understand how, what a big risk it is. There's a pediatrician, Dr. Meg Meeker, I think it is, who talks about the STDs as being in epidemic proportions.
Really?
Because young people just don't understand that, like I said, up to 10 years, you're sleeping with everyone that person's ever been with. And you often don't know that you're carrying a sexually transmitted infection.
Oh, sure.
Because you're asymptomatic. So.
Right. And the thing, you know what? It's our society that is so different from when I was growing up, and in many ways not better than in the past, because today you have sex on TV shows, you have it on the internet, you have it in movies, you have it everywhere. It's everywhere. Magazines,
music.
It's all, everything's about sex. And while sex can be a good thing, it's a wonderful thing if it's at the right
context.
time with the right person. Yeah, exactly. So there's a great deal to think about, and intervention prior to their getting involved in sex is, or even if they've started, if they realize the ramifications.
Well, let me share a story.
Sure.
We had a 15-year-old client come in, and as we're gathering information, we triage the clients when they first come in, find out a little bit about them, and figure out what they really need help with. And I was talking with this young lady, and she shared that she had had sex on her first date.
Oh my!
And I asked, well, what led you to that decision? And she looked at me and she said, "Isn't that what you're supposed to do on a date?"
Who told her that?
Yeah, it's TV's
Media.
movie. I mean, think about all the shows that you see them jumping in bed and you don't see any of the consequences.
Right. Right.
So,
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
yeah.
Wow.
So we talked about keeping her body healthy and safe, and what she was going to
Respecting
do
yourself.
going forward. Yeah,
That's a big part of it.
it is. It is.
And just making sure that your partner respects you.
Exactly.
I mean, it's an instinct, but sometimes our instincts have to be controlled.
Right. So I also wanted to share the
Yeah.
other part of what we do is the abortion recovery for a woman who has had abortion, whether it's just been a few months or maybe it's been many, many years. And sometimes they just can't get over the grief or the sadness of having that abortion. And so we offer an abortion recovery program.
That's fantastic because, as I mentioned to you before the program started, when I was in the legislature, I sat on the Health and Welfare Committee, and I can't remember what the context was, but there must have been a bill coming up that there was discussion about abortion or whatever, and we had women coming in who had had an abortion years ago,
Right.
and still were aching for the fact that that baby was taken,
Was gone. Yeah.
was gone, the life was snapped out of it.
Right.
And they're still wondering to this day, what would my child have looked like? What would that child have been like? What would my child have accomplished in life? What kind of relationship could we have had? And there's a great sadness.
There is.
And
It's wiping out a whole generation, because that child might have grown up, gotten married, had children.
Yes.
So it's really wiping out a whole.
Yes. What would my grandchildren
family
have been
line.
like? Yes. So there are so many psychological aspects. It's not all physical.
Right.
It's emotional, it's psychological, it's so many things, educational.
It is.
And so
It's not just, a lot of people think it's just a simple procedure. I know that some people would like to liken an abortion to, having a tooth pulled or something like
come
that.
on.
And actually, the way women describe it is like an animal being caught in a trap where you gnaw off your limb just to save your life. And that's really what abortion is to many women, is that they feel like they're losing a part of themselves. But they often feel like they don't have any options, and oftentimes they get coerced into having an abortion.
well, maybe the father of the baby
Right.
doesn't want the responsibility. And so they put the pressure on the girl to have the abortion so that they feel they have no obligations or responsibilities.
Right.
I'm not saying that all would do that, but there's so much to this. So prevention, I'm so glad that you talk with young people. There's a big world out there, so many opportunities, and don't get yourself in a place where, there's a time and a place, right?
Right. And I wanted to talk about too how we're a safe place for women to come and women and men to come and process, all of their thoughts, surrounding a pregnancy decision. And we always ask if we can follow up with them. So we had a client couple who came to us and, had a positive pregnancy test. We went through the pregnancy decision aid, and they both really wanted to parent the child, but because of outside pressure, were forced into having an abortion. When I followed up with them, I asked them if they wanted to come back in and maybe work on the relationship, and they did. And it was just a wonderful thing. And we have many cases of people who have had an abortion that have come back to the center. So that just shows that, we're compassionate and non-judgmental, and, we welcome them back and, try to be there to, support them going forward.
Yeah, guiding and, as you say, not judging,
Right.
and wanting to be a positive influence,
Right.
Support system.
Exactly.
I mean, this is great. It's so wonderful what you're doing. How many people know about this?
Oh, I think a lot. I mean, we see a couple of hundred clients every year, and like I said, we see men and women. Sometimes we get referrals from attorneys or the courts.
No kidding.
We work with families who are trying to get their children back because we offer parenting classes. So we do see a wide range of people. But the greatest, you asked how people find out about us, and actually the number one way is they hear from other people.
Word of mouth.
Right, word of mouth.
Sometimes that's the best reference, absolutely.
It is.
Because people have had a positive experience.
Exactly.
And they can share that with the prospective customer, whatever
Right.
you call them. So intervention, what exactly does that mean?
That's when they come in, they find out that they're pregnant. What are they going to do? And how can we help them and support them, connect them to an OB doctor. Sometimes they need health insurance, so we connect them with that. Or they need to sign up for WIC or Reach Up or things like that. So we, make sure that they're connected to all of the services that they need.
Wow. Now, with the younger people, do you know if when they decide that they're going to follow through and have the pregnancy and keep the baby, do they mostly end up, or the mother anyway, who has the baby probably, staying at home with her family?
Oftentimes that is the case. Sometimes they will try to move out and get an apartment on their own, but it kind of depends on their age and stuff. It's really interesting that the women who make the decision to carry to term and parent, they always come back in and say, this was the best decision I ever made. 100% come back and say that. Yeah.
What a service. And, I didn't know all this about you. I didn't. Of course, I'm not in the position to be needing your services.
Yeah.
I don't think it's very likely. I'm positive it's not very likely. But let me see. What is fake clinic?
So we get accused of being a fake clinic by people on the outside, and that's certainly not true. We have a medical director who oversees the medical piece. We have an RN sonographer who also works on the labor and delivery floor of the hospital, and we have a clinical social worker. We have a life coach. We have a very qualified staff.
Yeah. Wow. So,
and we're we have all our insurance and licenses and
I bet you
everything
do.
that we need with this, the state of Vermont. And
Sure. You're right up to snuff.
We are.
Okay, let's see. Oh, discipline, boundaries with raising children. A lot of adults don't have boundaries today.
Right.
Which is sad. So these are some of the programs the lessons.
One of my favorites is baby sign language, because you can teach a baby at like 4 months old how to communicate with you using sign language. So that's incredible.
Now, sign language in terms of body language or?
Milk, eat, more, and
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is oftentimes that will help them with their verbal development as they get a little bit older, because they've already started that communication.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot.
And then we have baby massage, we've got postpartum depression, we've got a lot of great classes. And like I said, the client can pick and choose as they work with their client advocate, but oftentimes an advocate will recommend classes.
How many people work at your facility in either place?
Well, I have 6 paid staff, and then we have volunteers, but we are in need of volunteers at both of our centers.
Now, okay, let's tell the viewers what kind of volunteers? What volunteers to do what?
Well, we need office volunteers that can help, like with mailing newsletters or things like that. But we also need people that can work directly with clients, both men and women that can work. We prefer that men work with the men, and women work with the women. And so we're always looking for volunteers, and we do the training. We provide all the training for that.
Okay. So a kind of a support system and education. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, you heard that. Now, if you're looking for something to do that's going to be of great service, and you want to positively affect the lives of particularly young people who have gotten themselves into a tough situation and need guidance and support and love and attention, here's an opportunity for you. If you're sitting at home and you're wondering, okay, now what?
Right. Well, and I wanted to go back to, we offer all of our services free of charge, and you had asked about our funding.
Yes.
And so our funding comes from individuals, businesses, and churches. We don't receive any state or federal money. So there's no tax money.
No, yes, and you can run your agency or organization the way you want to without the government telling you what you're going to do and what you're not going to do.
Right.
Which is a real positive.
It is.
So again, folks, if you're looking for a place to donate some money for a great cause, here it is.
Yeah, we're a 501c3 organization.
Okay, nonprofit.
Yep.
And you're on Stebbins Street, right?
No, we're on Lemna Drive in St. Albans. Yep.
I gotta. Is that on here?
It is.
Yes, it is. Sorry, I don't know where. Stebbins was something else. Sorry. I'm so blooming busy. Everything blends in together. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And 56 Colchester Ave. How close to the university is that?
Well, we're diagonally across the street from the hospital, so we're right across from the University of Vermont.
Okay. Well, that's great.
It is.
And do you get into the college at all?
We go to the Community Fest, where we, just introduce ourselves to the student body and show them the services that we have.
Okay. All right. Now, which of the 2 locations is busier?
Right now, Burlington is busier.
Is it?
Yeah.
Does it vary?
Well, St. Albans hasn't been open quite as long. We opened in 2010 in St. Albans. So, and we moved just a couple of years ago. So we're still, still trying to build up our client base there.
Well, I can't get over how important a service this is. And that they don't have to pay for it. Are you kidding? I mean, what could be better than that? I just hope, and you indicate, that they appreciate it. Even though they don't have to pay for it. It's free, and a lot of times people take that for granted.
Well, when they, like, for example, when they earn their layette, it's just incredible to see their face as they open that box up and just see everything that it contains. You know, it really prepares them for the baby.
Yes,
And
yeah.
it's so exciting.
It is.
It really is.
It's, yeah, taking a potentially negative situation and turning it into a positive one. And the fact that there are options,
Right.
positive options. And what a resource. It's wonderful.
Right. And I also wanted to say that, you know, we don't coerce women. They make up their own mind. We just offer, you know, services to them.
And then they make their decision.
They make their decision. Yep.
Let me see. Pregnancy classes, ultrasound to confirm the viability of the pregnancy. Okay. And what were some of my other questions?
Well, there are some myths about pregnancy centers, and one of them is that we don't care about the woman, we only care about the baby. And nothing could be further from the truth. We do care about the women and the men involved, and we just, you know, come around them and support them and love them, and, you know, without the mom, there's no hope for the baby.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. It's a team.
It is. And like I said, we have ongoing support. So even after they've had the baby, or if they have a child, you know, that's 2 or 3 and they need help, we're still there.
Wow.
So.
Well, yeah, because the nurturing has to continue.
Exactly.
For the mom or dad or both and the baby. And I just can't get over how I perceive these services to be such an important support system. Just unbelievable. You must love it.
I do. Well, and it's so fun, like I said, to see the new moms coming back in. We're the first place they want to come after they have their baby.
Oh,
they want to come in and show off their
Sure.
baby, and
Absolutely.
it's awesome.
Look what you helped me to do.
Right. We drop everything and go, you know, go see the baby.
Of course you do. Oh, you know, I have this new little great-granddaughter, and they're in North Carolina, but they were just up here and got to meet her for the first time. And
How exciting.
Oh, my gosh. I wish they were closer, but it is what it is, you know. But it's great. Are most of your clients young?
Great question. Well, we have seen clients all ages. Our youngest client was 13. She was
Wow.
actually a refugee that was coming to America. And then the oldest client that I remember seeing was 55.
Wow.
Yeah.
And pregnant.
And pregnant, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The miracles of life, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, it can be anywhere during the childbearing years that someone can use our services.
Are the majority on the younger side?
Actually, the majority are about 25 to 32, which might surprise people.
Well, yeah, that would surprise people, I think. 25 to 32. That's an interesting age. Because a lot of women are not marrying until, you know, their late 20s
Right.
or early 30s these days.
Yep.
Interesting.
So we also work with people who are married. Oftentimes, you know, people who are married and find out that they're pregnant, they might not have insurance and they want to make sure that everything's okay. You know, so they'll come, they'll have the ultrasound, and it's really fun to see, you know, the couples go through our classes together.
Oh, yeah. So you have a great variety.
We do.
Of resources and needs to meet. Wow. Okay, let's see. So I think you covered this. How do you get the word out to those who may want or need your services? You said mostly word of mouth.
Right, and our sign. Our sign does list most of our services.
Now your sign, I don't know where Lemna Drive is. Oh, wait, I think I do. Wait. It's near 105?
No,
No.
it's just down from Main Street. And it's actually, we're located in the same building with Vermont Adult Learning, CVOEO, Head Start. All of those
I don't know where
services are right
those
there
are
in that
either.
building. So many of our clients or potential clients are already in the building.
Okay, so tell me again where Lemna Drive is.
It's just one block down from Main Street.
Off of,
I don't know then.
is it Lake Street or,
You can get there from Lake Street.
okay.
Not
well,
Lake Street, the other one, the next one, over where the fire station is. It cuts between, is it Nason? I don't know.
I don't know. That's all right, you're down there.
Yeah.
Okay, so, this is great. I think I'll read this unless you want to.
No, go for it.
Okay, this is my growth plan. Here at Aspire Together, we welcome you to participate in our My Growth Plan classes. While you learn how to have a healthy pregnancy and be an effective parent, you earn the physical items you need for your baby. All of our services are free of charge. Through this program, we aim to support you throughout and following your pregnancy through a combination of educational and baby essential items. And that's a summary of...
It is.
But there's so much more.
There is.
I cannot believe it all. I don't know how this all happened, but it's for men and women, which is really important. It's not just for the woman who is thinking she's pregnant or is confirmed that she's pregnant, but how important it is to get the two of them involved in this
Right.
process that they need to go through. It can't be just one.
Yeah. And so I wanted to go back to, you asked when we started, and it was back in 1985, and it was in 1984 when Andy Smith, who was a medical student, was sitting on a lecture on abortion, and the abortionist said, you know, in a perfect world, we wouldn't need abortion. And so Andy got together with several people in churches and started the pregnancy center back in 1985.
Wow, I read a little bit about that online, come
Yeah.
to think of it. Interesting story.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing what inspirational idea one person can come up with that can mushroom into such a wonderful service?
Yes.
And the fact that it's free is awesome. So folks, I should mention not only do you have a volunteer opportunity, but you can also, should you be inspired to aspire, you know, feel free to make a donation. I know from talking here with Deb that any money that you might donate, whatever amount it might be, would be put to use for an excellent purpose, to create a healthier society and healthier families and individuals and babies to grow up in a healthy environment. I mean, what could be better than that? So feel free to make, and how do they make a contribution?
They can go online to aspire.together,
Okay.
aspire-together.org.
Okay,
and
and
they
for
can
those
donate online.
For those of us who don't donate
Yep.
online, like myself, what other?
You can mail a check to Aspire Together at 56 Colchester Avenue in Burlington. Burlington is our administrative site, and as
Okay.
well as, you know, being a client site.
56 Colchester Ave, okay, in Burlington. Okay,
And St. Albans is more of a satellite office.
okay. Do you get many clients in St. Albans? It varies?
Like it does vary, and like it seems like we go through cycles. And it's right now we're in the building stage again, so our client numbers are building right now.
Okay, good,
So that's exciting.
good. Let me see. Okay, you told us how you got your name, and 1985 was when it started. Okay. I'm glad you're getting into the schools and you're funded by donations.
Absolutely.
Let's see. So you listen and you help and you guide, and you support, and you're an open resource for when they have needs going forward. What could be better than that?
Can I share another story?
Yes, please. Anything.
We had a client who had an abortion scheduled. She really thought it was her only option, and some friends invited her to come to Aspire Together, and she came in, and we went through the pregnancy decision aid. We invited her to come back, and she did. She came back, and then a week later, she came in and had an ultrasound, and when she came in, she was just beaming. And I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And she said, "I'm going to parent." And I said, "Really?" I said, "What happened? What
Why?
changed your mind?" And she said, "I just needed someone to talk to."
Oh.
And so that was just very heartwarming for us to hear
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
Because we do listen. We really want to understand what our clients need and be the support that they need.
And help them to make their decisions.
Right.
Based on common sense and information,
Right.
education.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's a support system there is so critically important. So she changed her mind from an abortion
Right.
to being a parent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must make you feel good.
It does.
And I can't help myself. I love little children. And I even go up to them when they're in the grocery cart.
Yeah.
And I talk to them, and because they don't know me, right?
Right.
So I'll go up and they'll have their little hand on the cart, and I'll go like this, and I'll talk to them, and the parents are mystified. They're like, "Wow, what is this?" Or if they're crying, I'll go up and say, "Are you having a bad day?" And they go, "Who is this?" And they stop crying
Yep.
for a while. But anyway, they're a great gift. And we need to respect and appreciate that. And respect, you're teaching young people to respect themselves.
Right.
And their options. And just thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
You're a gift.
Oh, thank you.
You are. You make a difference in people's lives.
Well, we really enjoy the work that we do.
I'm sure you do. It's so rewarding.
It is.
Some can be challenging at times,
It
I'm
can
sure.
be. Yeah.
Like everything else in life.
Right.
But now they bring the babies back sometimes, and
Yes.
and you get to hold them, and aw. I'm a little jealous.
That's the best part.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing what Aspire Together is about, Deb.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Linda.
Oh, glad to have you. Anytime that there's something that you want to share, let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. An hour goes by quickly. I hope you learned a lot about this wonderful resource at Aspire Together in St. Albans and Burlington. So with that, have a great week. Enjoy your little children and nurture them and love them and take care of them. Okay, good night.